You did radio for a long time, didn't you?
Yeah, I started in radio, and I started as an operator, spinning records and adding commercials and keeping the log and all that kind of stuff. And then they stuck me on the air eventually, and I wound up working all different kinds of formats too. And when the first radio job I had, it was a middle-of-the-road station, AM and FM. The FM station was a classical music station, and I was in high school, and it was a part-time job. And they paid us $3 an hour, and there was an announcer in the booth on AM, and on FM it was all operating and voice tracks. And you ran the whole show. You know, you had a list of albums, and you went to the library and you picked them. And then there was the program log, and you ran the show. And the announcer in the booth, all he had to do was talk when you told him to talk. And when I got to public radio, that was private radio, $3 an hour. When I got to public radio at the CBC, which was all unionized, and saw that there were 5 people doing the job of the one operator. Somebody with a clipboard, somebody with a timer, somebody just sort of standing, overseeing the whole thing. I thought, wow, this is the place to be. But yeah, I worked at CHFI and CHFI FM in Toronto, and then CHFI decided to take on the Rock of Toronto Chum and became a rock station. And all these American DJs and programmers came in, and we were on fire. It was fantastic. And I was still an operator, and I didn't know it at the time, but if you came up with an idea and told the announcer what to say, that was called writing. Because we certainly weren't getting paid for it. And eventually, the program director said, do you want to go on the air? And I said, sure. And he stuck me on the all-night show. And my voice kind of went up to here for the first few weeks. And I did that for a while. And then the program director wound up getting headhunted to an American chain of stations, and DJ turnover is huge. And they switched up everything. And then I went out of radio for a while. And then just before, I'd already started doing some stand-up around Toronto. And I was just about to go to Los Angeles to give it a shot in Los Angeles. And I guess I needed to have a little more money in the bank or something. And I took an FM job. And this is 1976, where it was still called progressive rock. Right. And it was before FM became what it is today, which is basically what AM used to be. Right. And I was on that FM afternoon show for about 9 or 10 months. And, it was a lot of fun. A lot of interesting things happened during that period. I'll never forget this one thing that tell this story all the time. At that time, the most requested song, it might still be, was Stairway to Heaven. And it was a Saturday afternoon, and the song was, 10 minutes long or something like that. And on FM, you could play it, especially on a Saturday, you could play it. And it was very convenient for us because you could just kind of answer the phone. You could do whatever you wanted.
Go to the bathroom.
Go to the bathroom. There's only so many times you go to the bathroom. Yeah. And so I'm playing Stairway to Heaven, and the request line rings, and I pick it up, and a guy says, yeah, can you play Stairway to Heaven? And I said, I'm playing it. And he said, yeah, I know. Can you play it again? And I said, can I ask you a question? He says, sure. I said, you really like Stairway to Heaven? Yeah. Is Stairway to Heaven one of your favorite songs? Yeah. So let me just take a guess here. Do you own a copy of Stairway to Heaven? He said, yeah. I said, well, how come whenever you want to hear it, you don't put it on? And he says, because I want to hear it on the radio. And that sort of tells you everything you have to know about what radio is and what being in the audience is and the experience of sharing things with people. They don't exist unless you share them with people.
Yeah, and there's something about, there's also something about being able to control the radio station by requesting the song and then, that's the song that, like on a jukebox in a bar.
That's interesting. Yeah, he was responsible for it being
He was
on.
responsible for that experience. He was trying to get some ownership over the experience.
I'm the guy that requested it a second time. That was me. Remember that? Remember that, Jay?
And I figured that the real reason he didn't want to listen to it off his album at home was he was afraid of missing it on the radio.
Turn that off. It's on the radio. They're in the same place. Yeah, I know.
Every time he's about to put it on, he just looks at the radio. I was like, I'm just gonna check.
Not to mention that, particularly in '76, the disparity between the quality of hearing it on radio versus the quality of just playing it on your own, I would imagine quadraphonic sound system.
Hi-fi.
I don't remember that. I mean, the fidelity in the room we were in was certainly good, and cars started to have really good FM radios and everything. And FM, I mean, it was the beginning of album rock.
Yeah.
Which is interesting because now it's cycled back to record company guys were